My wife spends money like she drinks water. Is it okay to hide an emergency amount of money from her? My wife has some really bad spending habits. She will spend whatever amount of money she has, even if it's a lot. We have a mutual bank account and have equal access to our money. I don't want to live from paycheck to paycheck, so I opened a separate account which takes $20 weekly from our account and store it. I managed to reach a significant amount which help us pay our bills or afford traveling together when needed. Sometimes, I feel bad for not telling her. However, I feel like if I tell her, she will blame me every time she wants to buy something and I tell her that I can't afford it. She will be like, use your separate account and make me happy for once. What y'all think? She will blame me every time she wants to buy something and I tell her that I can't afford it. She will be like, use your separate account and make me happy for once. She will spend whatever amount of money she has, even if it's a lot. So she's irresponsible, manipulative, and emotionally abuses you. What exactly are you getting out of this marriage? Your joint account should be for bills and expenses only. She can waste her own fun money, but you really need to have a conversation about how irresponsible she is. Is there a chance she thinks you're making more than you are? I know sometimes partners can be secretive about their finances and that can cause issues in the relationship. Either way, having a conversation about these things will help both of you get on the same page. Separate your accounts. You can have a joint one for bills/mortgage/rent/food etc., and then separate ones for fun money. That way you will always have enough for necessities and neither of you have to feel guilty about how you spend your own money. WTF? How are you not able to talk openly to your wife about financial shit? You two need to change up the way you handle money. Get separate accounts into which your paychecks are paid into, then use the one you have now for bills, into which you each pay a sum. That way she's spending her own money and you can do as you see fit with yours. It's not fair for her to constantly be taking and you to constantly be giving. My 25/M wife 26/F is messaging with a male coworker and I have asked her to stop. She hasn't. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We have 2 children, 5/F, and 1/M. It has been a rough road due to mistakes and indiscretions on both of our parts, but we have endured and are finally in a good place in our marriage, our finances, and just stability in general. We have both had an affair each in our past, both over 3 years ago. For context, we have moved on, forgiven each other and rarely ever mention it. We don't argue about it anymore and I honestly feel that the trust between us has been restored. I trust her fully, she seems to trust me as well. My wife finished her degree in early 2020 and secured a great job. Prior to this, we have only ever had one income, mine. She loves her job and we have both enjoyed the financial stability that we have now that she is working. We recently purchased a new home, fixer-upper, and have been traveling some and generally enjoying life the best way we can in a pandemic. I feel like our marriage is the best it has ever been. My wife has a few male friends at work and that does not bother me at all. She does not hide messages and we both use each other's phones and are very open about who we talk to. I have never felt uncomfortable about the men she talks to. It has always been normal friendly conversation, until recently. Around 1 AM one night, she was asleep and her phone buzzed a few times. I grabbed it to check and make sure it wasn't something important, normal, not snooping, and it was from a male coworker my wife had never mentioned texting. He sent her a couple messages that seemed like replies to other messages, so I went ahead and opened the whole thread. It was a long thread, they had been talking all day apparently. The highlights would be: he mentioned he thinks she is eye candy and was sad he didn't work with her that day. He stated that he had a work crush on her. She asked if his wife, he is also married with 2 children, checks his phone and he said no because they trust each other. I wasn't really surprised or angry at this point, but I did confront her about this and expressed that I was uncomfortable with her continuing to talk to him outside of work due to his feelings about her. She insisted that she understood and she would respect my wishes and stop talking to him. she has not stopped. She has continued to message him every day, and the conversation, that I have seen, is really mild, maybe a little flirty, but nothing crazy. Point is, I am uncomfortable with it. And she says I can't tell her who to talk to and I should trust her more. So that's where we are, several arguments later, and I am just feeling completely disrespected and unheard at this point. Sex life is great, no complaints. No other signs of affair or sneaking around at this point. Yeah, I'm not with the majority here. Once people have crossed that line / opened that door, it's way too easy to keep going. If someone told my boyfriend they found him hot and wanted to spend more time with him, I would not be okay with him continuing to have an outside of work friendship with her. That's a boundary for me. If they couldn't have the conversation with me in the room, there's a problem. Set the boundary. Sounds like you have, and given your history, I actually think the boundary should even be more clear. If it makes you uncomfortable, that should be enough for her to stop. End of discussion. Others have answers with greater subtlety, but I don't think subtlety is warranted here. Honestly, this is flat out not okay, especially given the history and the content of the co-worker's messages. In the time of night the text was sent from the co-worker, and the fact that your wife essentially helped him hide the conversation from his wife and continued to egg on the conversation instead of setting appropriate boundaries to protect both herself and you. This is wrong on so many levels. I'd get into couples counseling stat. This is exactly how affairs start, innocent, then mild flirty, then off to the races. Have her read up on this process. I'm sure they're aware, they've both had affairs prior to this. Biggest red flag for me was her asking him if his wife checks his phone. She wants to know how far she can take things. Not a good sign at all. I'd personally tell the guy's wife, but that doesn't really solve the problem of your wife. I hate to say it, but with infidelity in the past, you two being together since you were children and marrying young, this doesn't bode well for the future. Seems like cheating is about to become a recurring event in your marriage. You can try couples counseling, but you can't really make someone stop cheating or respect boundaries. So here's the deal. You have a really calm, forgiving nature. Wasn't really surprised or angry at this point, but I did confront her. Most people would be. I'm not saying you're wrong, it's just that your emotional reaction is over on the calm end of the scale. That makes it hard for your wife to take this seriously. I'm not suggesting that you go Hulk on her, but you do need to find a way to express yourself that makes it clear what you consider to be unfaithfulness. Honey, you've said that I can't tell you who to talk to, and you're right, I can't physically stop you, and I won't try. But here's what I consider unfaithfulness. When a guy tells you he has a work crush on you, and you don't shut it totally down, that's not cute. It's selling me out. When a guy tells you you're eye candy and your reaction is not only my husband gets this candy, that's being emotionally unfaithful to me. When you ask him if his wife checks his phone, that's because you know in your heart that he's being unfaithful to her. I can't force you to stop that, but I can tell you that this will destroy our marriage that we've already rebuilt out of the ashes. Whatever kind of validation you're looking for in him, let's talk about how to find it here at home. Very good point. Thank you for the advice. This was basically my end of our last argument / conversation, so hoping to see her take me seriously. I have stressed that I feel like her actions are putting what we have built back in jeopardy, and that's not what I want. My 24M girlfriend, 26F, doesn't want to talk to me anymore because of COVID-19. This year has been very rocky for me and my girlfriend of 5 years. Not just because of the virus, because of our beliefs about it. I've been staying at home, social distancing, and wearing mask. I believe that these things are effective in preventing further spread. She on the hand is against all these measures because of how it's made everyone and isolated from each other, doesn't believe they're effective at all, and anyone who believes so is paranoid. We've had fights and have separated multiple times throughout this year about it. This past Christmas weekend, she stayed over at my house and agreed to also come for New Year's. Today, She told me she was invited by a coworker to a party on Ni. The coworker told her that it wasn't a force or event, but that 50 people were already invited and the party is close to where. When she told me about it, she wanted to see me after going. I told her that I don't think it's safe that 50 people are going to an, I'm assuming, indoor party and masks are not guaranteed to be worn. To avoid another argument, I told her that I respected her decision if she went, but I didn't want her to come to my house since I'm nervous she may get infected and would spread to me and other people in this house that are vulnerable. She already knew how I felt, and I expected her to at least be understanding. Instead, she gets upset, starts throwing insults, and tells me not to speak to her again. Now, I get that this year has made everyone including her afraid, alone, and depressed. I'm no different, but I want me and my family to be safe since this virus is not a joke. I try to be civil with her and respect her decisions, hoping she'll respect mine. I don't want to lose her, but it seems like we can't avoid conflict over this and there's no way to compromise at this point. I'm tired of all this BS and I don't know what to do anymore. I think this is a very telling sign that you should end your relationship. If you can't trust someone to be responsible and understanding of your views, especially in a global pandemic, then they're not a good partner. Everyone is feeling alone, isolated, and depressed, not just her. You seem like you have your head screwed on. Make the right decision if this is someone you really want to be with. I know people always jump to break up, but she seems really self-centered and immature if when she doesn't get her own way she starts throwing insults. I am less cautious than several of my friends. I'm more cautious than several of my friends. When dealing with the more cautious friends, I meet them at their level of comfort. This can mean giving them a rundown of everywhere I've been and the people I meet with, as well as their caution level, to sitting outside, 6 feet apart with masks on when we meet. Because I respect their personal decisions, life, and the risk level they feel comfortable taking. I do not want to cause any of my friends trouble in the form of added anxiety, disrupting their ability to meet or reside with high-risk persons, let alone possibly infecting them. Now, when I deal with the friends who are less cautious than I am, I expect the same level of respect and courtesy for my boundaries as I show for the boundaries of others. To not meet my level of caution is disrespectful and shows a blatant disregard for my future plans, personal safety, and feelings. Your girlfriend is potentially risking any future plans you might make, risking your health, and being extremely dismissive of your feelings. Is she like this in other areas as well? Instead, she gets upset, starts throwing insults, and tells me not to speak to her again. She did you a favor. My advice is to oblige her request. She's an idiot. End the relationship. She's acting like a moronic child. All safety measures aside, do you really want to be with someone who doesn't talk to you every time you make them mad? Really imagine a life with someone who used that kind of emotional extortion / manipulation. It's not worth it. The issue isn't what she believes. Well, it is. She's a fucking dangerous moron. The issue is that she won't respect your views and actively attempts to belittle them. You can have opposing views, but the right way for her to deal with this was to say, "Look, I've decided I want to go to this party. I know that means you'll not want me here for a couple of weeks till I know I'm not infected. I hope you don't mind." Her selfishness is the problem, and while you say she's otherwise lovely, I find that very hard to believe. She wants things her way. She doesn't care about your health, your family's health, and if you won't give her way, she'll sulk and make you feel like you've done something wrong. You haven't. Find yourself someone who actually cares about you. Someone mature enough to have an adult conversation about this and respect your boundaries.